Hey folks, good morning. Can you guys hear me? Let me know in the chat. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so how are you guys, everyone? I'm good, and I hope you are good today. And we are starting our daily bias and liquidity session on US 30 on the monthly chart. I'm here to show you how I decide my daily bias. It's not a recommendation for you to change your bias or any of your idea. If my bias goes with your trade idea, then stick with it. If you find something helpful from it, then adopt it. Other than that, I'm not here to teach you. I'm not your mentor. I'm just here to share what I do, how I do it. So let's start. I'm on US 30 and it's on monthly chart. And what do you see here? I see a order block right here. Let me mark the order block, and I'm only gonna mark the body of the order block. Don't worry, we'll go to the lower time frames, but we'll start our markings from the monthly chart. So that's our order block, right? So that's what we marked from the monthly chart. Now let's go to the weekly chart. There's nothing else significant in the monthly chart, so that's why I'm only marking this order block. On weekly chart, if you come down on the weekly chart, you can refine the order block. So that's the last up close candle, right? And we are in a down move, so that becomes our order block. Okay, so and now if you measure the order block, right, let me zoom in a little bit for you. So that was our monthly order block, and we are the price action that you are seeing right here, it's inside of this monthly order block. And I'm just measuring the order block, and I get a lot of question like how I use this tool. I'm using a gun box to measure my stuff, and here's my settings. You can take a screenshot of it, and then you can select on your own. So our price is inside of this order block, and inside of the midway, inside of the consequent encroachment of this order block. So what do we expect to see? Price to remain heavy towards the sell side, right? So that's the basic idea that we are getting from the weekly chart and then the monthly chart. Let me mark the order block so that when we go on the lower time frame, we have everything organized. So that's our order block, monthly order block, right? So now let's go on the weekly chart. Sorry, now let's go on the daily chart. 24-hour. So now we are on the daily chart, right? And what do you see? In my last weekly bias, daily bias session, I told you guys that I want to see price reject off from this swing high, right? Why? Because we were inside of this breaker block. Do you guys remember? I mentioned about this breaker block in my last live stream about daily bias and liquidity. And what did I told you guys? I want to see price rejecting, coming all the way up, right? And taking out this swing high and then rejecting off from it towards the sell side. And price came up here, offered the buy side liquidity, but we didn't saw any significant retracement towards sell side liquidity, right? So that's our breaker block. I'm just marking it so that it becomes clear to everyone else. We have a stop hunt here. So that's the reason these down close candles becomes our breaker block. So that's our breaker block, and price is inside of the breaker block, right? So if I measure the breaker block, so what do you see here? What do you see happening in price action right now? Price just stepped into the midway of this breaker block, right? So what I want to see, price remaining heavy towards the downside? Because I have two confirmations, right? I have confirmation from this monthly order block, and price hit the consequent encroachment of the order block, the mean threshold of the order block, and then we have a breaker block on the daily chart, right? And what do you see happening? Price hit the midway, the mean threshold of the order block too, right? So let's mark out our nearest liquidity pools. That's our nearest liquidity pool towards buy side liquidity, right? So BSL, that's the short form of buy side liquidity. And what do you see on the sell side? We have a big imbalance, right? That is unfilled right here. That's a daily imbalance, right? So we are just gonna keep that in mind. Why? Because for price will only hunt two things: liquidity and imbalance. So price did hunt liquidity, right? That's a major buy side liquidity pool right here. What do you see happening here? Price generated this buy side liquidity, then price came all the way up and took this buy side liquidity, right? And at the same time, price filled a lot of imbalance. So to me, price is now significant in buy side liquidity. What I'm expecting to see, price coming down, offering sell side liquidity, clearing equal lows that we have on lower time frames. Now we are on daily time frames. That's why you don't see relative equal lows. But if I take you on the 4-hour chart, you'll see a lot of relative equal lows. So just keep in mind that our nearest liquidity level on the buy side is on this swing high, and our nearest liquidity level on the sell side is on this daily imbalance, right? So now let's go on the 4-hour chart. Now we will refine our trade ideas from this 4-hour chart. Okay, so just so you guys remember, that's our daily order block, and that gray shaded box that you see, that's our monthly order block, and the price action that we are seeing right here is inside of these two zones. So these two are my main confirmation for me to expect bearish price action in coming weeks, right? So that's our daily imbalance that we marked, and that's our nearest level of liquidity. So when I was a beginner, I had two questions in my mind, always like buzzing around. The first question was like, how far can I expect price to go against my bias, right? That's a very good question. Like, how far can I expect for my for price to go against my bias to make sure that my bias is not correct anymore? How far can we expect that? We measured the order block, right? That's a monthly order block. And if we measure the order block again, so what do you see? Price just stepped into the midway, and above that, like, price just stepped into it. So how far can I expect price to go? I can expect price to come all the way up, taking out this buy side liquidity, right? Because it just steps into this midway of this order block, and we have a price also tapped into the breaker block, right? Price also taps into the midway of the breaker block. So what I want to see, price coming up, offering the buy side liquidity here, and then going down. So how far I can expect price to offer buy side liquidity? Far into this zone till 0.75. If price is still offering buy side liquidity after 0.75, the upper quadrant of the order block, and if price is aggressive, like, my bias is wrong. My bias is bearish. I'm expecting my bias to offer sell side liquidity, right? So how far I'm expecting my bias to go? I'm expecting my bias to deliver buy side liquidity up until the upper quadrant of this monthly order block. That's how far I'm expecting price to go. If price is still offering buy side liquidity more than that and price is aggressive, then my bias is wrong, right? That's the basic knowledge. So now let's mark the liquidity levels. Let's mark our targets, right? We have a bias right now, and bias is on sell side. Now we need targets. So what do you see? That this gray shaded box that you see, that's our daily fair value gap, right? So we are just gonna mark the high of the fair value gap. So that's our daily fair value gap, daily fair value gap, and that's the high of the daily fair value gap, right? Okay, and where is our low of the daily fair value gap? That's the low of our daily fair value gap, right? Copy, and then I'm gonna paste it here, and that's the low. That's the low of the daily fair value gap. So in between this zone, we will select our target. We will select our target in between this daily imbalance for our coming trading days. So we have an unfilled fair value gap right here, right? So that's a 4-hour fair value gap. Let me mark this first, then I will talk in details like which target is the high probability target, which one is the low probability target inside this daily fair value gap. That's how I do it. You are here to see how I mark my daily bias, how I select where price will go, how I determine that. So that's how I do it. And that this one is another 4-hour fair value gap, right? Inside of this daily fair value gap, we are doing what? We are refining our trade ideas from the higher time frame to the lower time frame, right? So that's our 4-hour imbalances, and it's inside of the daily chart, right? So what when I started the live stream, I told you like price will hunt two things. Price will deliver to two things. One is liquidity and other one is imbalance. So price already delivered liquidity right here. That's a major level of liquidity, right? That's a buy side liquidity on daily chart, and price delivered here. If price wanna deliver more liquidities, then I'm expecting price to offer till this buy side liquidity, right? And for the imbalances for the liquidity, what do you see here? We have very clean equal lows. Do you see these equal lows? These are relatively equal lows, right? So what price is indicating to us? What is it? What is it telling us? That it still wanna come down. It still have business left on the sell side, right? Why? Because it generated these clean levels. So if you are an ICT student, you know when price generates these clean levels, price likes to come down and take these levels out, right? So for that, this target, this 4-hour imbalance makes more sense to me as a high probability target for price to come down. Why? I just explained it to you. Because of these relative equal lows, right? Price did not tap into this daily fair value gap, right? Do you see any candle closing or any candles weak inside of this fair value gap, inside of this daily 4-hour fair value gap? No. So this is an unfilled fair value gap, and what price will hunt is unfilled fair value gap, right? And liquidity. We have liquidity here, and we have an unfilled fair value gap here, right? So now let's go on to the 60-minute chart, hourly chart. So what do you see I'm doing here? I'm marking the liquidity levels very simply. I'm not like talking about setups. I'm not talking about like my model, my breaker block model. I'm only talking about liquidity and imbalance. That's how price delivers, and that's how simply you can decide your daily bias. It's not that hard. You are the one who makes it confusing. So these are the clean levels that you saw on 4-hour chart. Now that we are on hourly chart, these levels becomes really clean. Like look at this. That's a trend line liquidity that price is building for the retail traders, right? That's a trend line. And what do you see in price happening? Price coming down again, tapping into the trend line and getting support. Down again, trend line down again, getting the support, down again, getting the support. So what is it building? It's building trend line liquidity, trend line phantom for the retail traders. For retails, they will see like price was offering buy side, right? Price was going up and up, and now price is following a trend line. So what they will expect, they will expect more buy side liquidity, they will expect more higher prices. And for to us, to ICT traders, we have other confirmations from higher time frame, right? To see price not offering any buy side liquidity again in coming trading days. We are expecting to see price offering sell side liquidity because of these two higher time frame confluences, right? This order block that is on monthly chart, and then this breaker block that is on daily chart. So what the retailer are gonna think, that that's a trend line that price built and price should respect that, right? And what we are seeing, we are seeing it as a trend line liquidity as equal lows, and we are gonna target these swing lows, right? So if you are coming back, coming down on like hourly chart, you can refine your trade ideas. You can refine the imbalance that we marked on the 4-hour chart. You can see that this imbalance becomes bigger, right? And on 1-hour chart, price did not tapped into this fair value gap, so this fair value gap is still unfilled, right? So do we see a major swing low in this price action? Do you see a major swing low right here? Yes, I see it here. So that is our sell side liquidity here. Do you understand what I'm talking to you? Sell side liquidity. So that's our sell side liquidity, and where is our buy side liquidity? That's our buy side liquidity, right? If price generates a new buy side liquidity, then we'll measure our price action from that. And let's now select which one is our high probability target, right? So that's our first swing low, first unfilled fair value gap that is paired with these equal lows. So that is a very high probability target for me, right? Why? Because we have relatively equal lows, and that's the nearest level of fair value gap. That's the nearest unfilled fair value gap that price can come down to and fill it, right? So that will be our target one. Target one, right? And if that's our daily fair value gap, right? If I measure the daily fair value gap from the low of it, from the low of the daily fair value gap to the high of it, what do you see? Where is our midway? This is our midway, right? And do we have a fair value gap down to it? Yes, we have a unfilled fair value gap on 4-hour chart. That's a fair value gap from 4-hour, and it aligns with the midway level of the daily fair value gap, right? So that is our next high probability target. These two targets that I'm telling you, these two are my high probability targets. And when do we expect price to reverse from a fair value gap, from the midway, right? We don't want to see, if we are expecting a reversal, we don't want to see price closing a candle's body below the midway of this fair value gap, of these daily fair value gaps, right? So our low probability target is gonna be this fair value gap, right? Why? Because do you see a fair value gap here on our hourly chart? We have a fair value gap on 4-hour chart. If I take you on 4-hour chart, that's a fair value gap, right? But if you come down onto the 60-minute chart, we can only see fair value gap right here on our target 1, target 2, but on 60-minute chart, there's no fair value gap on target 3. So this becomes our low probability target. Why? Because there's no fair value gap on the 60-minute chart. And at the end, if price is still offering more sell side liquidity, we can target this major swing low, right? That will be our target 4. So now do you see how I select my targets? That's a daily fair value gap. I took you on the daily chart. Let's go back to the daily chart again, right? So that's our daily chart. What I did at the beginning of the stream, I marked the daily fair value gap. Then I took you guys on the 4-hour chart. Then I refined my targets, right? Then I refined my targets that was inside the daily fair value gap. I marked the 4-hour fair value gaps, right? Then I went to the hourly chart and I refined my targets again. I found that these two are my high probability target. Why? Because the first fair value gap that you see right here, it's close to these relative equal lows. So if price is coming down and taking out this relative equal lows, what I can expect to see price filling this fair value gap too, right? I can expect to see price filling this fair value gap. So this target 1, this becomes our high probability target. This target 2, that's also a high probability target, but this it's not as high probability as the first target. Why? Because it's the midway of the daily fair value gap. Do you remember? I'm repeating again and again. That's our midway of the daily fair value gap, and this fair value gap is below the midway. So from where we expect to see price reversing from the midway of any fair value gap, right? Until then, we can expect price to offer sell side liquidity, and this becomes our strong target. And this right here becomes our like high probability, but it's not that high probability. And these two targets becomes our low probability because of there's no fair value gap on hourly chart, but there's a fair value gap on 4-hour chart, right? And if price is still offering liquidity towards the sell side, then I can expect to see price take out this major level of sell side liquidity pool. That's our target for, right? Is it clear, chat? Let me know in the chat. Is it clear? Is my indication where price will go is clear? Is it clear? Okay, unknown legend is saying that bias on US 30 is bullish. To me, I don't care. Why I don't care? Because I gave you guys two questions on the Telegram chart, right? I told you that my first question when I was a beginner, that was something like how far can I expect my bias to go against me, right? I can expect my bias to go against me till this buy side liquidity right here. And how far I should expect price to go to make me profitable. How far can I expect price to go to make me profitable? That's the question that you need the answer for. Do I need price to come all the way down and hit my target 4 to make me profitable? No. That's the hourly chart. And where do I execute? I execute on 3 hour, 3 minute, 1 minute chart. So if price is coming down and offering sell side liquidity in these relative equal lows and filling this fair value gap, our target 1, that's it. I only need 4 hour for my upcoming trading week. If price is giving me 4 hour, I'm done for that day. I'm done for the week. And after that, I'll be very cautious. So to me, it doesn't matter if price is coming all the way down and hitting the target 4. I don't care. If price is delivering till target 1, which I'm very certain that price will, I'm happy. So to answer the unknown legend question, you don't need to see where price is going for the whole week. You don't need to do that. You only need a correct bias for short term. If price is giving me like if price is offering me uh liquidity till here till this imbalance, then I'm profitable. I have 4 hour and I'm happy, right? So I don't need to price to deliver till target 4 to make me profitable. If price is delivering till target 1 and then reversing, suppose price came all the way down, right? Price offered the buy side sell side liquidity here and then price reversed. Do I still care? No. Why? Because price gave me 4 hour in between these zones. If price is like not in high resistance liquidity run, right? If price is offering like in low resistance liquidity run, if price is in low resistance liquidity run, then I can get easily 2 hour from this move. I don't need price to offer me like a lot of movement to make me profitable. So that was my whole bias. I'm expecting price to offer sell side liquidity towards the downside. And another thing that I'll tell you guys, like, don't take my bias as your bias, okay? Don't take other people's bias as your bias. We all have different ideas. We all see charts differently. If you have a different idea, about the bias and it goes against my bias, right? Stick with it. Maybe you are correct, maybe I'm wrong. So the whole point of me doing this, coming in front of you and sharing my bias, is because some of you are very confusing about bias and think that deciding bias is very hard. It's not that hard. To be honest, it's easy. It's easy to decide the bias. Okay, do you guys have any questions? You can let me know in the chat section. Okay, I can see that 170 people watching. Can we get likes till 100? Can we make it to 100? Guys, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, and you can ask me questions on the chat section, and I would love to answer your questions. Rento is asking, do I take trades from ICT's live stream? No, I do not take trades from ICT's live stream. I just watch his live stream, okay? And if I have a trade idea that goes against ICT, then I don't care. I'm learning from him. What he's telling me, he's not giving me a signal. Some of you guys don't understand the simple idea of that. He's not here to give you signals. So why would you take any trade that he's taking? He is here to teach you how to see charts the way he sees it, right? So that's what you are doing. If he is doing a live stream, then you are going there and you are taking a trade. You are the retail. He is not the retail, and he's not telling you to take the trade. So don't talk about that. So on US 500, right? Someone is asking like, what's your bias on US 500? It's similar. If my bias is bearish on US 30, I'm expecting also lower prices on US 500. But the price action is slightly a bit different on US 500. Me personally, I only decide my bias on US 30. I don't look at like US 500 or US 100 for my bias. So I'm bearish on US 500. Our nearest, I'm just gonna give you a basic idea about US 500. You guys know that US 500 is not my pair. US 30 is the pair that I trade. So our nearest buy side liquidity will be here, and we have relatively equal lows. The people who are saying like we are bearish, why? I can see price coming all the way up and offer buy side liquidity here, and then I can expect to see price coming all the way down, right? And you can refine your trade ideas. That's the zone when we have a relative equal lows right here. So price offered buy side liquidity here once, and then price took this swing high here. So price delivered buy side liquidity again here twice. So if price is coming all the way up and offering buy side liquidity third time, then I'm expecting price to come down and offer sell side liquidity, right? And we have a volume imbalance right here. So that's what I'm expecting to see. I don't care what other ICT traders on Twitter are sharing their bias. I don't care like what anyone else is talking about bias. That's my bias. That's how I see price action happening on my chart, and I trust my bias. That's what you should do. You should trust your bias too. Okay, unknown legend is asking, and do you take turtle soup setup? Bro, you are the one who is asking that, I can believe, right? I take trades based on the breaker block, right? So what is a breaker block? A breaker block is basically a turtle soup. Without a turtle soup, you will never have a breaker block. So if you understand the concept of breaker block and turtle soup, then it's not a question that you want to ask. Okay, so I'm gonna end my live stream here. Can we get 200 likes? And then I'm closing the live stream. And if you guys have any question, you can ask me. You only use fair value gaps and liquidity for bias. Yes, I only use fair value gaps and liquidity for the bias. Other than that, I do not care about the setup because I execute on 3 minute and 1 minute. So why do I care about the 1 hour? I only care about the higher time frame liquidity levels like the major swing high, swing low, and the imbalances. That's what I care. I'm executing on 5 minute, 3 minute, 1 minute. So I care about my setups on these lower time frames. I look for setups on these lower time frames. I never look for setups on higher time frame as I'm not executing there. Could it go to buy side liquidity first? I don't know. I'm not the one who makes the price or right. So I don't know. What I can do is to predict, and I can do prediction based on the confirmation that I see on chart. I see this weekly, I see this monthly order block, right? I mark the order block, and then I can see the daily breaker block. And when price is inside of a daily breaker block, what do you expect? Do you expect to price to offer more sell side liquidity, right? So based on that, I can tell you price has a lot of sell side liquidity that I think it still want to offer. And if I'm coming back to your question, I'm also expecting price to take out this buy side liquidity here and not going further than that. If price is going further than that after offering this buy side liquidity and it's aggressive, then the whole idea of my bias is wrong. Okay, thank you guys. Like that was the whole session. That was the whole bias session. I hope like it helped you, and you can see like how simply I decide my bias. I decided my bias yesterday, on like last week, and I shared it with you all, and you can see how precise it was. I expected price to stop here at this swing high, and price did. I expected price to offer more sell side liquidity. Price did offer sell side liquidity, but it wasn't offering as much as I expected to see. So I'm still correct. I want to see price offer more buy side, more sell side liquidity, and that's my bias. I'm bearish on US 30. Thank you all. Have a nice day and have a good trading week. I'll catch you guys on Monday on the live stream on Monday. Take care. Bye bye.